So part 2 of chapter 9, conformity. Follow uncritically. So conformity can be dangerous. Conditions for group acceptance or group think, if you look at the Janus study, faulty decision making by groups or lack of sound judgment to justify group unity. Think about how many times you've been with your friends and you might not agree with what they're doing, but it's a lack of sound judgment, and you justify it with, well, they're my friends. I want to be with them, so I have to support them. How many times have you supported a friend that you don't agree with what they're doing? So let's think about that and as you read in this chapter. Emotional reasoning, the process of using one's feelings as proof of an accurate analysis of situation. We don't want to use our emotions to validate our analysis of a situation. For example, the situation, a coworker ignores you. The thought, she thinks she's superior to me. She thinks she's better than me. The feeling, irritation and anger. So now let's take it from a different thought process. The coworker ignores you. She's upset about her mother. Concern and sympathy. Then your feelings will change. So that's how emotions and thoughts can affect actions as they involve those feelings. So emotional reasoning, there's patterns of thinking and distorted reality. You can read about that in chapter 9. The overall generalization, mind reading, filtering, catastrophizing, personalizing, and perfectionism. As you read those, think which ones have you used, which ones have you heard others use around you. Stop and think now, and critical thinkers realize that all events and behaviors are not personally designed to make their lives difficult. So people are not doing things around you or saying things to be difficult towards you. They are able to stop and consider other interpretations and respond accordingly. So someone's comments to you might not be because they hate you or they're angry about you. They could be because of their reality assumptions, their value assumptions. It could be something that they're going through. It's not always about you. So now let's look at rational responses and ways to deal with emotional reasoning. Number 1, be aware. Identify without distortion. Look at what's really going around you and don't put in your assumptions in there. Map out your beliefs behind your emotions. So just like I was showing you the cloud where the coworker ignores you, map out your beliefs and behind the emotions. Someone cuts you off. Wait a minute. Let me think about what I believe. Can they cut me off? My emotions are I get angry because I probably think that they're being rude. What if they actually are having an emergency? Then it changes our belief system, our actions. Analyze the specific situation. Consider other interpretations. Prepare for action. And accept good changes and also accept reality. So a skill to practice. Recognize and use logical thinking to counter emotional reasoning. This is an exercise 9.3. Recognize areas of logical vulnerability. Went ahead, sorry. So this is going to be one of your assignments, exercise 9.3. So make sure that you think about, I'm going to read here from the text because it is in your text for page 424. Think about any ways in which you might not have been objective in hearing evidence from others about the issue. So you're going to have to look at an issue where you are going to have some emotions in there. So think about, as you see the example, I think about politicians. Think about the president right now. Are you for him or against him? And if you're for him, is there any time where those emotions are are clouding your judgment of things that people say, hey, listen, he did this? Are you 100% denying it because you are in support of him? If you're against the president, are your emotions of why you're against the president also clouding your judgments of when he does do things that are good and they're pointing out like, hey, this was a good thing? So examine that and give an example. Points of logical vulnerability. Trouble spots in thinking. Topics about which a person has difficulty being rational or objective. So we have to understand that we might not be the most rational or objective person when when an issue or a topic is something that's really close to our hearts, close to our belief systems, when it's a sore spot. It's difficult being objective on specific issues. For example, for me, being a woman, I am going to have a harder time being rational or objective to comments about women, any issues that have to do with women. I might have my emotions come in. I might have my logic question. I might have some defense mechanisms. So think about what are some topics that are really close to you, specific issues that you're like, whoa, if anybody starts arguing about that, I'm not changing my mind. This is what I believe and value. So that is a point of logical vulnerability. Anecdotes, general semantics, relationship between words and behavior. So what do we mean by that? Read pages 416 and 417 on chapter 9. It will talk about these general semantics that we use, the power of the language and the words. Think about when you hear on the news, all, or, those people, they, them. There's power in those words. They're leading you to believe something. The point is being made right there by saying that. When they say those people, it raises, for me, red flags. Okay, what are you talking about, those people? It doesn't ever sound something positive is coming. So read that section on the anecdotes and the points of logical vulnerability, because when people use those key words, it starts to raise flags for you to say, that's where they're vulnerable in their thinking. Okay, so semantic devices, it's also in that section, indexing, vague to specific, the date and time, etc. So you want to know these, the indexing is that all, but the vague to specific and the date, when did these things occur? When they're like, oh, well, let me tell you, this person did this and this and this, and they're giving you a list, but it sounds like they did it all in 1 week, when in reality it could have been a segment of 5 years, in the span of 5 years or 10 years. So it's not all that bad. So read that section on these different types of semantic devices. Empathy, a deeper understanding of others' positions, does not always mean agreement. So in empathy, you are understanding where they're coming from, but does not mean that you agree 100% with what they're doing or saying or feeling. Precautions, avoid sarcasm and ridicule. So when you are actively listening and someone is telling you or making a point, you want to make sure that you're not sarcastic or ridiculing them. Don't parrot, meaning don't repeat what they're saying. You want to paraphrase. So what I heard you say is, and then you can tell them what you heard. Don't just repeat exactly word for word what that person is saying. Take a moment from the situation. If you need yourself, if you see that you're getting upset, if you feel that, take that time to say, okay, you know what? Let me take a break. Some issues may be too strongly felt. Some issues are forever conflicted if discussion is continued. So it's important that you recognize that. Big area where we see this again is politics. Any discussions on politics, any discussions on religion, discussions on anything that you hold. Again, when we were talking about those sore spots, that you hold really passionate values and beliefs on. Okay, so chapter 9, the check for this. So checkup. The tendencies to view one's culture as superior. We know that that is our ethnocentric. Tendencies to view everything in relationship to oneself. That is egocentric. Define those points of logical vulnerability. So make sure that you look at all the different points of logical vulnerability and you understand those. Good luck with this chapter. I can't wait to hear how your group project goes, and see you soon.